Hey everyone, it's Justine. Welcome to a new video. Today I'm keeping things a little shorter than normal because I'm celebrating Ardyth's 3,000 subscribers with a video hop, so several of my crafty friends are actually participating in this video hop. So when you're finished my video, there is a link below in the video description to hop to the next person's. Be sure to leave a comment at each of the videos because there are lots of prizes to be won and I have the sponsors listed at the end of the video. So let's get started. I have a cardboard box here and I'm in a well-ventilated area. I'm going to spray my stencil with some Pixie Spray, about 12 inches above and just a couple of seconds there. I'm going to leave this off to dry for about a minute and I'm going to prep my area. So I'm working with a 4x5¼ piece of cardstock and I'm going to lay down the Moroccan tile stencil from scrapbook.com on top of the piece of paper. This Pixie Spray is really fantastic. It helps keep my stencil in place while I'm working, so no needing to waste any tape or anything like that. I'm now going to use my Distress Oxide inks here. I'm using Squeezed Lemonade to start, as well as a new blending tool from scrapbook.com. So I'm going in and I am using this to create my background. What's different from this blending tool, when I had originally thought about it, I thought, oh, why is scrapbook.com coming out with a blending tool? These life-changing brushes just came out and they're fantastic. Why would I need this? And then I gave it a try and it has domed foam on the edges and it's super thick. Much better than the Rangers. I think it does a great improvement on Rangel's blending tool. Because of the dome, you don't get any harsh lines either, and this is a very affordable alternative to those. They work fantastic, and I was super impressed with how much ink absorbed into them, so I really got really great coverage, and I loved the dome shape for the lack of harsh lines, and I like the fact that they're interchangeable, so I don't need a ton of them, and I can just use one foam for each color. So the colors I used were Squeezed Lemonade, Carved Pumpkin, Picked Raspberry, Wilted Violet, and Salty Ocean. This is my go-to combination for bright colors of distress ink. It's one of my favorite combinations and I use it all the time. So I'm going to show you a couple of other combinations that I did with this same stencil. You can go with bright rainbow colors like this one, for example, or you can go into like a really subtle blue color if you want as well. So for this one here, I'm going to be using Salty Ocean, Broken China, and then lastly, Tumbled Glass. And I'm going to create sort of an ombre effect, the darkest in the bottom right corner, then going to the lightest color at the top. I apologize, I think my lens got a little bit of that Pixie Spray on it and it's a little bit dirty, so I apologize that the video is not as crisp as the clip from before. But that's okay, you can still see what I'm doing. I absolutely love this combination and I love this stencil. I love how it has large areas of color and then really thick areas of white. I think it makes a great combination. For my next combination, I'm going to be using Wilted Violet, Abandoned Coral, and lastly Squeezed Lemonade. At this point, I wanted to give you a couple of blending techniques. So you can see here how I'm starting with a color and I lay it down. I always tend to keep the color open when I work on my second color, and I always replace the foam pad with a color that's needed, so I never just contaminate my ink pads back and forth. So I'm going over it now, and you'll see that I'm starting to blend in the two colors. Now, I always keep that pad open in case I need to go back and blend the two colors together with the previous color. This is how you can get seamless blending in between the two. It depends on the color shade, I find, whether I need to go back in and do this each time. But you can do this with any of your dye inks. Whether using Catherine Pooler inks, regular distress inks, it doesn't really matter. They will blend. It just depends on how creamy they are as to how well they will blend. Depends on your tools. It also depends on practice. So my recommendation is either this tool or the life-changing blending brushes, which I'll link to below in the video description, and then for your inks, I definitely recommend Catherine Pooler's or Distress Oxide or regular distress inks. So now that this color combination is finished, this one here ended up taking an orange tone between the Squeezed Lemonade and Abandoned Coral, so it doesn't look too much different than the first card we did, aside from the fact that there's no blue. Okay, so the next one I'm going to do here, I'm not doing a blend, I'm creating my own cardstock. So I'm grabbing some of that Broken China ink and I'm ink blending it onto some cardstock so that I can die cut this and have a matching die for the inked background. So I inked it up about halfway and that's how you can create your own cardstock for things. I'm also going to do the same thing for some of the other backgrounds. So I'm using the Handwritten Thanks from the Stamp Market. This one here comes with a shadow stamp as well as the font itself. So it'll look really nice when it's all finished. So I'm going to do the background in white and the thinner text in the salty ocean. Then I went ahead and I grabbed the Hugs die. This is from Concord and 9th. Also same idea, it has a shadow as well as a thinner Hugs. I'm going to die cut this in a blended piece of paper that I used with carved pumpkin and squeezed lemonade. And then lastly, I am die cutting UR using the tall alphabet set from the Stamp Market using holographic paper, which you can see takes on the color of any sort of lighting it's picking up from the room around you. So I'm running these through my die cutting machine. Today I'm using my Spellbinders Platinum 6. It's my favorite manual die cutting machine because my Gemini Junior has gone on to a better place, and since I'll be buying a new one when I move overseas. So you can see here I have all the die cuts already laid out. I've also gone ahead and die cut from 2 circle dies pieces of vellum so the sentiment doesn't get lost behind the background, so it doesn't blend in too much. The vellum's going to help break that up. Also grabbing a piece of string here, so I grabbed some sewing thread, and I'm going to add just a little bit of interest to my card. I just kind of place it randomly on my card, and you can tape it down, or you can use the glue from the sentiment. Up to you. It ended up being a little bit too small anyway, so you don't see it too much in my final card. So I'm just adding the glue behind the die cut when it comes to gluing on the vellum. That way I don't have to worry about adding any glue to my vellum and it kind of showing through. So you can now see those shadow dies and how they look with the skinny die in front or the thinner font. You can see the Hugs I cut out in black as well. And then the thank you I cut out in that beautiful broken china. And then you are in this fun holographic paper. It's one of my favorite papers to work with right now from Tonic Studios. So if you have any issues trying to line these up, I'm going to give you a quick tip here. My ruler is packed away. So what I did was I grabbed my cardstock and I lined it up with one of the lines on my grid mat and I taped it down. I grabbed a straight edge from a piece of cardstock, also taped that down according to the grid lines on the cardstock. And then I was able to line up the letters perfectly straight. So if you don't have a ruler on hand or a T-ruler, that's a way to do it as well. You always got to get creative when you have limited supplies. Now you're going to see a major screw up for me, and I always like to put my mistakes in my videos. I'm using the UR stamp from scrapbook.com, and this is a great stamp because it has UR and then a whole bunch of coordinating stamps. So I wanted to choose 3 that were going to look really good on this card. So everything was going well, I lined them up straight, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to ink this up a little bit more and stamp again, and look what happened. I double stamped, and it wasn't in the same spot in the corner because my paper shifted because I never use magnets, lesson learned, and it just looked terrible. So I decided to do some card surgery. I grabbed my paper trimmer, and I decided to trim out the U and the R, and I just trimmed it as close to the sentiment as I possibly could. This way I could go back into my MISTI and I could actually stamp on a card panel and then add the UR on top. So I was able to kind of save it, and I also made a more clean and simple looking card. I think I like this better than the original card because it's not as busy. So I went in this time and I carefully stamped using the black ink, making sure my card was in the corner. I have the amazing, beautiful, strong, and I love this sentiment. I love the thinness of it. It looks really beautiful. And then I'm going to go ahead and glue that panel right directly on top. So everything was saved, everything's good, not the end of the world. I always try and find a creative way to fix my mistakes or to still use the things that I've created, especially when I've come this far. So a final look at the cards and final put-togethers. I added these to a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base, and now they have a nice white border around them. I have the UR in holographic paper using the UR stamp from scrapbook.com and the letters from the tall alphabet from the Stamp Market. Then the second one, the Handwritten Thanks from Stamp Market and the Moroccan tile background in blues. And lastly, the Hugs die from Concord and 9th in a beautiful background there. Now I decided to add a couple of little embellishments here, just some little clear droplets because I thought they looked a little plain, needed a little something, but I didn't want anything colorful because that was going to just really distract from the background's colorful enough. I mean, it didn't need much. So I'm using my Crystal Katana placement tool here, picking up each one of the little clear drops from Pretty Pink Posh, and I'm adding them to the fronts of the cards. I think they look so much better, and I'm really happy with the way that they turned out. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. Don't forget, in the video description below, there is a link to the next person in the video hop. Comment, and please leave a comment for a chance to win the prizes. And Ardyth will have details on her video all about that. Just be sure to indicate in your comment below if you are from the USA or international, because some prizes are allocated to certain areas, but not all of them. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a great day, and be sure to check out more videos on my channel and hit that subscribe button.